Tyrone Stevens asked an interesting comment in the comments. Question in the comments. Do you guys think that Coby, Pat, Ayo, and Julian be the young core that we could add to?
Do you think
looking forward
could be the young? Okay, go ahead.
And wanting to see those young guys get more opportunities, and not just Coby, but seeing more minutes from those guys.
Yeah.
I was actually having a conversation similar to this with our guy Cody from CHGO Cubs earlier today.
Flex.
And he and I were talking about it, and how I feel is this group of younger guys all have potential to be incredible role players on a good team. And to Coby's extent, even a great secondary star on a legitimately good team. They still need the superstar. None of the guys here are the superstar. And I'm not trying to sell Coby short or say I don't believe in Coby, but I will say I do not believe in superstar, best player on a team in the top 3 seeds level for Coby White. I don't quite see that for as much as I love what I'm seeing from Coby. I like all of those young guys that you rattled off as guys to keep around who can turn into solid role players.
I think part of it is...
But they don't build a team. A superstar builds a team.
He says young core we could add to, which I think is the correct terminology.
That's what I was about to say.
Add a superstar to.
Not young core.
Correct.
Not young core
Not
we
just
can
run
build
with that.
around
Correct.
necessarily. But
that's exactly what I was about to say.
You got some pieces there that are good pieces.
That's
but
exactly
I'll say this kind of in defense of the way that the team is currently being built, which is that, like, okay, maybe these guys are fixtures of the future, but if you don't view them as superstar A1 caliber options that are going to lead you to a championship, then you kind of need to have a guy who can be the #1 option on that team to help support them and develop them as they get older here. So I do think in that sense, like having DeMar and Vooch around has really helped Coby. It's helped Julian. None of these guys are overburdened or overtasked. You're able to slowly give Coby more and more responsibility, more and more usage as these games go on. And I think that's been really beneficial to their growth. So I think that's a real reason why AK and the front office want to have DeMar and Vooch around to help support those guys. But I think the question there is, okay, well, if DeMar's 34 years old and he's a free agent and you've got to figure out what you want to do with him longer term, and Vooch is signed for this year and 2 more, and he's 32, like, if you don't at some point figure out the way to get that next star that can be the #1 guy, to put those guys kind of in their place, and I don't say that disrespectfully at all, like, it just becomes harder and harder to find that guy the longer you put it off.
And I feel like most everyone would be in agreement, Bulls fans or otherwise, to say none of those guys that are here right now are the guy.
Right.
None of them.
And so what do you have to
Zach,
do? You have
it's
to
not DeMar.
find...
We already saw the apex of DeMar 2 seasons ago, and we'll never see that again. They have to find that player somewhere else. And people in the comments saying, you're not going to find it in free agency because those superstar level of players never pick Chicago.
And you're also probably not going to find it in the draft when you have DeMar and Vooch around, and that keeps you drafting around 10 or 12 or whatever.
So how do you find it? With a trade. Oh, wait, we don't do that.
Yeah. So you have to figure out the other ways to do that. And I mean that, it just requires you to start building in some direction somehow. And they just haven't done that yet.
Yeah. I'll say this. Add to, that's kind of where I was going with that. Thanks for saying that, Joey. But I'll say this about Coby. Coby has earned the right to be given a benefit of a doubt and not just be, you can't be this person.
100%.
Coby has earned that. If Coby has earned the right to be like, maybe you can be the man on his team. I've heard Coby since he's gotten here be told everything that he can't be. Everything. You're a bench player. You're just a shooter. You can't be a point guard. You can't be a starter. He's been told all this. You can't be a dude who averages 20. Like all this, and again, it reminds me of your boy Jimmy Butler. It's the same thing for me, like setting all these hurdles up, and I'm just watching him leap over that shit constantly at a younger age. Because obviously Jimmy, took more time because Derek was there. But Coby has earned the right to have this benefit of the doubt to allow himself, maybe you can be the man. Maybe you can be the dude that carries this team. Because everything that you've been told that you can't do, I'm watching him do it. And not just do it, but surpass it and destroy it. So maybe he can be the leader. Because obviously the guys want to follow behind him. They love Coby White. So obviously they want to get behind him and, see if he can be that guy. But I'm not going to put it past him that he can be the dude who is the leader of this team that could lead this team somewhere to some success. I'm just not going to doubt it. I'm just not going to put that out there for him, man. He's proven it all wrong, like over the years, man, and he's earned that benefit of the doubt. So I can't just say that about Coby. I do agree with the other guys as far as role players. They feel like role players. You know what I mean? To me, hopefully maybe they can grow like Julian Phillips and those guys. Maybe they can grow.
Julian Phillips is going to be the best player in the NBA.
Yes, I'm not going to argue this, but maybe they could get into that. It feels like Ayo already knows his role and what he wants to be. And again, Ayo had another awesome game tonight too. But I feel like Coby could be that dude who stands out. Like, we're talking about putting him in just the All-Star weekend just to be there for the weekend. Maybe the conversation shifts to, man, maybe this dude can be the All-Star for your team. Maybe this dude can lead your team to some victories out here. We're talking about giving him the ball and giving him the keys now. Like, go ahead, be the man. It also definitely, like you said, hinges on DeMar and Vooch, and obviously they build it around them. They want them to learn from those guys. I guess the question is, when do you hand the keys to the young fellas? When do you say, DeMar, thank you, Vooch, thank you? You know, they're ready. When do you toss them the keys? Like, that's the question.
Last season's trade deadline.
I do think you're right, and I don't want to like disregard the potential for Coby to be like the #1 player in a championship team. I'm not going to like say that's impossible, but even if he does become that, you need to have the right supporting cast around him. And I think that question still remains, which is like, how do you find the second best player on a championship team? And at a certain point, it just becomes really tough to do that if you're not picking any direction to go find that.
Yeah.
And I think like we've talked a lot about the Bulls picking a lane. Like they're in the lane that they've chosen. I don't know. A lot of people are always like, they need to decide what they're going to be. They have chosen what they're going to be.
Yeah.
The question is like, how do you get something? How do you add to your team long-term if this is the lane that you're in? Because they don't seem willing to move out of that.
We will not accept mediocrity. Also, we are choosing mediocrity.
We all silly like the mayor.